Introduction. Aisle 21 at Home Depot. It began innocently enough, but then it always does. They were friends at school and church. Two guys, one 15, the other 17. Not best of friends, but the kind that recognize each other in the hallway with a "Hey, how you doing?" A nod that communicates something while saying nothing. The younger boy had good grades, but a serious issue with being bullied at lunchtime. Every day, dread overwhelmed him as he walked into the cafeteria and looked for the most obscure seat in the all-too-small room. It was a nice try, but it never worked. One Wednesday afternoon, the last bell of the school day rang. Finally, another day was behind him. Eager to get away from the memories of the day and the homework that was in front of him, he agreed to hop into the car of a 17-year-old friend from church, an only child who drove a fast sports car. The plan? Go to his house, play some sports, and be back at church in time for the family dinner at 6 p.m. When they arrived at the friend's very large 3-story home and said hello to his family, he was invited to his friend's bedroom to see a new electronic gadget he'd been given the previous weekend. When the door was shut, he thought, that's weird. But the new gadget had his full attention. Invited to sit on the bed, he never saw, never dreamed what would come next. Like a masterful magician whose sly hands moved like the wind, the 17-year-old's abuser's hands flew all over him. He was stunned, not really grasping what was happening. He wasn't able to think what he could do to stop the horrid insanity, because 60 seconds later, it was over. Not missing a beat, the abuser got up, smiled, and asked the boy, "Want to go downstairs and play ping pong?" Not even able to speak, the boy nodded his approval as they went downstairs. He played in a state of complete bewilderment. Before long, they were back in the sports car, driving to church. They walked in and ate dinner, together, like nothing had happened. Except it had. What's going on? This may not be your story. Yours may be much worse. But it is a story experienced by hundreds of thousands of teens each year. The National Children's Alliance reports that 600,000 children and young people under the age of 18, that's at least 1 in 7, were victims of abuse and neglect in 2021. But that number is considered low due to underreporting because of the COVID-19 pandemic that year. Suffice it to say, there are more than 42 million survivors of sexual abuse in America. Still, somewhere between 66 and 90% of victims never tell. This is why in June 1989, God asked me to do something for him. In essence, he said, "Dean, there are generations of teenagers I need you to reach for me. These kids have no idea that I'm alive, that I love them, and that I have a purpose and a plan for their lives. Many are living with intense pain. I want you to go on the road and give them hope. My hope." Since January of 1993, I've done just that, living out my calling full time, sharing God's truth and His words of hope at more than 4,000 events at high schools across America and around the world. To date, I've spoken to 2.5 million students in 8 countries. Our team has seen more than 150,000 suicides prevented. We've published 32 books that serve as follow-up resources. And most importantly to us, at our events, we've had more than 300,000 teenagers give their hearts to God. This book is another act of obedience as I came to the realization I can only speak to so many people in person. So with much prayer and dependence on God, I'll be introducing you to stories of real teens like you whom I've met on this journey of faith, students who've encouraged enormous tragedy but have courageously shared their personal accounts with me. These are stories that, among others, have shown that it's possible to turn pain into purpose, anger into passion, rejection into acceptance, and forgiveness into freedom. All of the stories point to a unique, hope-filled life message and pathway to finding courage, confidence, connection, and answers to the age-old questions of why am I here and what am I supposed to do when things don't turn out like I thought.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.